let's watch the woke idiots from ESPN's First Take, Stephen A. Smith and Dan Orlowski. They blame the Steelers organization for Mike Tomlin's failures. This is what these woke idiots do at ESPN. So if Tomlin loses to the Ravens tomorrow, he would have dropped 5 games in a row to end the season. But somehow, that's the Rooney's fault. Let's jump into the video.
Your team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I know how highly you think of Mike Tomlin. Do you think he should consider leaving Pittsburgh for Chicago?
I think, yes. The answer to that question would be yes. I love Mike Tomlin. I hope he doesn't leave. But I want to make sure I emphasize what I'm saying here.
If Mike Tomlin left the Steelers for Chicago, he'd win 2 games every year for the next 10 years, especially with Caleb Williams as his quarterback and that franchise.
There does come a point in time, and I'm not saying that is the case yet with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but there does come a point in time when you have to ask yourself a question: is a new voice and a new vision required? The Pittsburgh Steelers, 6 Super Bowl championships on their resume, with only 3 coaches in its history: Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, now Mike Tomlin. They know how to pick coaches.
Like, look at their faces.
You have 0 playoff victories.
They're all so like, oh my God, nobody could say anything bad about Mike Tomlin, no matter how bad he coaches. So last week, when Corey Trice was manned up with Jamar Chase the entire game, one-on-one, you think that was the best scheme you could have came up with as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers? Somehow that's the Rooney's fault. You can't criticize that. The Steelers, in 11 days, their whole season went down the drain, losing 3 games that they weren't even competitive in. They've lost 4 games in a row, and if they lose tomorrow against the Ravens, that's 5. And everybody's like, oh my God, we can't say anything bad about Tomlin.
Since 2016. 0. Now, again, I love me some Mike Tomlin, and I don't want him to leave. But I remember when Don Shula ultimately was let go. I remember when Tom Landry was let go. And I would always say to folks, players get interchanged all the time. Players are let go all the time. We move on from players every single day. They moved on from Joe Montana. This is what happens.
Everybody's so uptight.
And so I look at they moved on from Peyton Manning.
Okay.
This is what happens. So why is it sacrilegious to bring that up when it comes to a coach? It's not like you're saying he doesn't deserve to be a head coach. It's not like you're diminishing his quality and what he brings to the table. But if I'm a franchise, I can tell you this much for me personally. Somebody, I'm sorry to brag, but who's accustomed to being number one. That's what we do at First Take.
Stephen A., you and racist Ryan Clark are the biggest reasons why ESPN's ratings are in the garbage. You and racist Ryan Clark are the reason. I used to have ESPN on my house 24 hours a day on. I never watch ESPN now because I can't stand 2 woke idiots like you. According to Stephen A. Smith and Ryan Clark, if you're not black, you can't criticize any black players or any black coaches. Go F yourselves.
Accustomed to being number one. I got news for you.
Yeah, okay.
Ain't no way in hell I'm going to be a part of a team that can't win a playoff game in 9-10 years. If I'm the owner, if I'm the boss, I got to look at that hard. And I got to say, yes, it might be on me too, but we ain't had playoff victory since 2000.
I'm just not sure that falls on Mike Tomlin more so than the personnel, Dan.
Okay, so if you're asking me,
oh, who's that? Let me guess. Molly Quirm, Miss Wokeness, the queen of wokeness. Oh, it doesn't start at the top with the head coach, Mike Tomlin. It's always somebody else, right? Especially if that guy's an old white guy. Oh, it's definitely his fault. ESPN is such a joke. You are so ESPN makes me so sick. It's disgusting. So now the Steelers, all their game plan, Mike Tomlin went into this season thinking that Russell Wilson could outduel Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Allen, Patrick Mahomes to beat them in the AFC Championship to get to the Super Bowl. It was Mike Tomlin's decision. to go into this season with Russell Wilson, but somehow this whole train wreck is not his fault, according to the woke idiots at ESPN.
Mike Tomlin entertained leaving the Steelers?
Yes.
For the Bears? Sure. Sure, if you're Mike Tomlin.
Right.
Because you haven't got
Dan Orlowski, another woke idiot. So, Mike Tomlin is going to leave the Steelers for the Bears? You think the Bears organization is better than the Steelers, especially with the prima donna Caleb Williams as their number 1 pick? Really, Orlowski? Another woke liberal idiot spewing his nonsense. Mike Tomlin would never leave the Steelers for the Bears. Hey, maybe if he didn't have a job, maybe if he gets fired, he will.
a quarterback. Now, do I think that the Steelers should
Look at her
entertain
face.
trading Mike Tomlin?
Okay.
I've seen that obviously had in the conversations. I think it's the dumbest thing I've heard in the NFL this season, that the Steelers should entertain moving on from Mike Tomlin. If we had to look at the last, let's call it the 6 or 8 years of Mike Tomlin's run with the Steelers, really ever since Ben got old and they have had to figure out the quarterback position, have they exceeded expectations in Pittsburgh? Realistic ones. I know the ultimate goal is Super Bowl. Have they exceeded expectations?
I believe
Yes.
so.
Why?
Oh, yeah, of course
They
we all
had
do.
a quarterback.
No, but why have they exceeded them?
Because
Because of Mike Tomlin.
Because of Mike
We'd always
Tomlin.
say you don't count out a Mike Tomlin team.
Wait, hold on. It's because of Mike Tomlin. So Mike Tomlin doesn't have any input on the players that the Steelers draft or bring into the organization. But when those players play bad, oh no, it's that old white guy's fault. It's not Tomlin's fault. Like ESPN is so pathetic. It's just so pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. I even think Mike Tomlin would agree with me. Mike would be probably the first person to say, like, hey, it starts with me. It starts at the top. Just the ESPN woke garbage. They're all so terrified to be critical of Mike Tomlin. Oh my God, we can't say anything bad.
Team. He
Have
always
they,
has winning season.
have they fallen short of the ultimate goal?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why?
Because they don't have a
Because they don't have a
quarterback.
quarterback.
Bang. So if you're Pittsburgh, the reality is you don't have a Mike Tomlin problem. He's in 12 out of his 18 seasons, he's exceeded the expected like preseason win totals, okay?
But-
You haven't had a quarterback. And where the Steelers failed is all great organizations, whether we want to like it or not, and whether we think the Atlanta Falcons were stupid or not this year for Michael Penix. Favre to Rodgers. They went from Alex Smith to Patrick Mahomes, Joe Flacco to Lamar Jackson, and then Rodgers to Jordan Love. The reality is the Steelers have failed Mike Tomlin, not getting him a quarterback way more than Mike Tomlin has failed the Steelers.
Mel, before you jump in really quick,
The Pittsburgh Steelers have failed Mike Tomlin, according to woke idiot Dan Orlowski. So according to Dan Orlowski, Mike Tomlin is powerless in the Pittsburgh Steelers organization. He's just a victim here. He has no power. He has no say that they drafted Kenny Pickett. He has no say that they brought in Russell Wilson. He has no say what offense they're going to run, what defensive scheme. Nope. He's just a victim. It's everybody else's fault. He has no say. It's the Rooney's fault. Hey, Orlowski, do yourself a favor, you woke moron. Leave the Rooney's name out of your mouth. Leave the classiest organization in the NFL out of your stupid, ignorant mouth, Orlowski. Mike Tomlin has failed himself and the Steelers. Mike Tomlin is the reason why the Steelers haven't been in the playoffs in 8 to 9 years, whatever it is, 7 to 9 years. But this is what you get when you deal with woke idiots at ESPN.
so you said Mike Tomlin should consider it. Do you think it's a better situation for Tomlin to be coaching Caleb Williams than it is with the
There you
Russell
go.
Wilson
I just said
situation?
that.
Heavenly Father, absolutely.
Heavenly
Mike Tomlin,
Father,
when Mike Tomlin has a good
I
quarterback.
don't know how highly you think of Caleb Williams.
Heavenly Father, absolutely. Caleb Williams, the bust. See, it's just another built-in excuse that Tomlin, it's not Tomlin, and he would be better somewhere else. If Mike Tomlin went to the Bears, they'd be absolutely, Mike Tomlin would win like 3 games a year for the next 7 years. But the ESPN Woke Center, it's just, the wokeness, it just never stopped. Pass the buck, blame this one, that one. Oh, there's a white old guy on the coaching staff. Must be his fault. Can't be Tomlin's fault.
haven't talked about the Bears much this year.
I think
That's why
Caleb
asked the
is
question.
remarkably talented. He's not perfect. He's remarkably talented. He absolutely needs to develop in some of the areas that he did not this year. But Mike Tomlin with the quarterback basically means you're going to go to the AFC Championship, which would be the NFC Championship game.
To me, it's not even about Caleb Williams. It's about, do you trust ownership? I mean, I'm not exactly sure that that's the place for you. I want to ask Stephen A. a question, because I agree with you that sometimes.
That was so funny. Even she knows, and she's a woke idiot too. Even she knows that Arlowski is just saying these things to, get street cred or show that he's woke, and to him, like, oh, I gotta prove him. Just because you criticize Mike Tomlin doesn't mean you're a racist. I mean, I know somebody needs to explain that to racist Ryan Clark and idiot Stephen A. Smith. Nobody wants Mike Tomlin to succeed more than I do. But to get on here today, ESPN, and blame the Rooney family and everybody else in the organization, other than where it starts with the head coach, is just pure idiocy and ignorant. But I wouldn't expect anything less from ESPN Woke Center, who can't figure out why their ratings are in the toilet bowl because nobody wants to tune into this nonsense where they make it racial 24 hours a day. There's only one reason why they're afraid to be critical of Mike Tomlin and put the blame on him, and it has nothing to do with sports. Give me a break. It's absolutely disgusting. You know what, Woke Center? The only racists are you.